Hi, I'm Victor Patterson, and I'm an Irish trans man, and I'm here to explain to Irish people, and maybe you're not necessarily Irish, but you live here, or you know people who live here in this same situation, and I'm just saying, watch this video, you can really hopefully I'll explain what it means to be trans in Ireland, or at least not cis in Ireland. So I have a few points I'm going to go over, so I'm just going to define what it is to be transgender. I'm going to explain about dysphoria. I'm going to explain about what it's like to transition in Ireland, what prejudice is like against trans people in Ireland, what it can feel like to have anxiety over being trans or being mispronounced or misgendered, and I'll talk a little bit about my own story. So hopefully this is a nice guide that can hopefully give you some learning experience about what it is to be trans. So I'll start with what is transgender, and it is very simply when you identify as the gender other to the one you were assigned at birth. So I'll use myself as an example. I was born female, but for as long as I can remember, I've never felt female. I've never felt comfortable really being one of the girls, and only very recently I found out that I discovered for myself that I was trans, and looking back, it was so obvious. It was so obvious in my choices, in what I did, in how I dressed, in how I talked to people. It was all so obvious, and this could help you kind of come to a conclusion if you are questioning yourself. And what is trans? It is, as I said, you were born one gender, but you just feel like you should have been born the other, or that you were born in the wrong body. And that is common of most trans people. There are some people who don't feel necessarily that way, but still feel like they should be the other gender. That's just how it should be for them. It's just more comfortable. It's them, you know? And it can be very hard to look in the mirror and despise yourself for such a long time before you come to the conclusion, you know? And being trans, it mainly revolves around that. And it's not just being trans, there's other things. So you could identify as genderqueer, which is when you identify as both genders, so male and female, you identify as both of them. And then there's agender, is when you identify as neither. So you don't identify as male, you don't identify as female, you don't want to be one, you just don't, it doesn't feel right for you, and that's perfectly fine. And there are people all over the country who are all different things. There are agender people in the country, there's genderqueer people in the country, trans, cis, from all walks of life, and you can find them. If you want to find them, you can find them. And if you need to talk to somebody going through the same thing as you, I have no doubt in my mind that there are LGBT support groups all over the country that can help you. So I'll explain a little bit about what gender dysphoria is. And it's when you get discomfort, you feel uneasy, you feel like this isn't right when you look at your own body. And it is true of everyone who is trans. I highly doubt there's any trans person who hasn't ever experienced dysphoria. And for trans guys, it's usually the breasts, or maybe it's a high voice, or maybe it's just a unfortunately feminine face. And for trans women, it's the penis, you know, it's the deep voice, it's the Adam's apple, the jawline, it's all of these things can really cause horrible self-esteem drops, depression, all of these horrible feelings just from looking in the mirror. And as someone who has experienced it, it is a horrible thing. But, moving on to the next point, it can be beaten. And here's how. There are plenty of ways to transition from the body you were assigned at birth to the one you truly feel you are. And that is, of course, a few ways to do it. You can take hormones, or you can get some surgery. And I believed for a very long time that there was an operation called a sex change, in which you just went into the hospital one gender and you came out the other one. But it's not so simple. It's actually a lot longer, drawn out, frustrating for the person undergoing it. It's a really unfortunate thing. But it can be done in Ireland, and it has happened, and it will happen again, and it can most definitely happen to you if that's what you want. And so I'll explain what hormone therapy is first, right? And it's when you take the hormone that rages during puberty of the other gender. So if you're a cis woman and you go through puberty, estrogen is going to be released by the body, and that's going to give you a figure. It's going to give you, your boobs will grow. It'll, your period will eventually begin. Estrogen really is kind of that. It's like, it sort of turns you from a young girl into a woman. And many trans women who opt to go for hormone therapy, they will take estrogen just via injection, maybe by a pill, and they will hope, and more often than not, the results can be seen after a year or so. For unlucky people, maybe a bit longer, but it'll always work out. Changes will always happen, and after a while of taking it, I'd say a year, maybe a bit longer, the features have become more feminine, and you can see it in the face, and confidence level goes through the roof, because what do they look at in the mirror? What do they see? They see a woman. That's what they've always wanted to see. And if you're trans man, it's the same deal. You take testosterone and it deepens your voice, it moves back your hairline, you widens out the shoulders a little bit, kind of makes you butcher, hopefully, and sort of, it's basically induces puberty, male puberty, and same with estrogen, it'll be female puberty. And obviously, when you go through puberty, you start to become, more of a man or more of a woman, and that is what hormone therapy does. It turns you basically into someone who's having puberty and becoming a man or a woman like you've always wanted to be. And the other option you can do is top or bottom surgery, depending obviously on what gender you are. Trans men get top surgery, and it is used to sort of remove the breast tissue, effectively removing your breasts, which is kind of exactly what most trans men want. I know I would like it a lot, and I know lots of people who want it, and it is available here in Ireland. It is woefully expensive if you choose to get it privately done, but it will happen, it'll work out. There's some top surgeons here in Ireland, ha pun, and all in all, I haven't heard any kind of bad stories about it, so you're pretty much set. And bottom surgery can be kind of a insertion of a prosthetic, perhaps, penis if you're a trans man, maybe if you're a trans woman, removal of all of that, if that's what floats your boat. And here's an important thing, you don't have to do any of this to be considered a trans person. You don't have to go on hormones, you don't have to do surgery. All you have to do is identify as the gender that you were not born as, and the gender that you feel you should have been born as. That's when you're trans. You don't have to take any route, but as long as you are certain that you are in fact a man or a woman, and you are comfortable with not taking any approach to that, and just being called a male name or a female name and pronoun he or she, and you can go about as that, I have so much respect for you, because I personally couldn't stand that. I would have to take it, but there are some fantastic people out there who are just getting on with it, and huge respect to you, because I don't know how I could manage. But so there you go. That's what transitioning is like in Ireland, and usually, I know from my own experiences, you have to get diagnosed with gender identity disorder, which if you're having dysphoria won't be difficult. It usually happens with about 1 to 3 sessions with a therapist or a professional. Then they'll refer you on to somebody who does hormone therapy or someone who does surgery, and then you can go and get all this done. But the only catch is you have to be 18 and over, and that could be really difficult for some people. But before that, you can always take hormone blockers, which will stop the hormones that are raging through you at the moment. So if I took hormone blockers, it would stop estrogen from seeping through my veins, which would be great, but I'm not on them, so oh well. And so then when it comes to prejudice in Ireland, it's a bit With the expansion of kind of public knowledge about LGBT issues, such as the Pride Festival, or just well-known cases in the news, you'd expect Ireland to be more open to the idea of transgender, but we're unfortunately quite behind. In fact, I'd say America is even further ahead than we are, which is worrying considering America. But we are taking steps. Within the next 6 months, they say there's going to be a bill introduced, passed, that will allow someone who identifies as one gender to be legally recognized as that gender, which would be fantastic for so many different reasons. You could get your name changed on passports before you're 18. Fantastic, you know. It could even open up doors to kind of maybe introducing hormone therapy a bit earlier for people who are fully confident, which could be incredible. But right now, none of that exists. And there are still a lot of prejudiced people, especially in schools, who are worried about what to do, and misinformed parents who don't know enough about the issue and who act from the heart rather than thinking, to basically tell you you don't have to worry about stupid people because there are so many trans people in Ireland experiencing the same thing that it is goddamn impossible for you to go through your life without meeting at least one understanding person. I swear to God, I thought there were going to be no trans people in Ireland. There are so many, and they are so good, and they are so funny, and so brilliant and easy to talk to. If you're feeling, oh my God, I'm never going to find anybody who's going through the same thing as me, that's exactly what I thought, and I was so wrong, and you should come and be my friend and everybody else's friend. Because we will not be prejudiced. We are fantastic because we understand. And a bit about anxiety and what it means to be mispronounced or misgendered. So I'll use my own experiences. It's very hard for me to be referred to by my birth name, and it's very hard for me to hear people call me she or her, and I know that's because I'm not passing very well as male, and that's just my own bad luck, I suppose, and my own bad choices of clothing and hair, but it's still really disheartening. And sometimes I wonder, do they understand the kind of emotional trauma they're causing? No, because I'm too anxious to say, oh, look, no, don't, I'm trans, I'd rather you called me he, you know, that doesn't work with me, you know. I don't want to make things awkward, and that, you might be experiencing the same thing, but here's what I say, don't be me. Stand up, because you're probably more confident than I am, and you probably will get the results you're looking for. Being mispronounced is one of the worst things. It's just when the door gets left open for you, or when they're like, oh, hi dear, hi sweet, hi babe, hi girl. You just know something's not working, and you don't know what it is that's not working, which is one of the most disheartening things. And when somebody calls you the wrong name, it's like a knife to the heart. It's awful. And I would hope that nobody has to go through that, but the sad reality is most people will, and it is a dreadful thing. But I hope it happens to you as little as it can possibly happen, and that you have good fortune with the people you interact with. And I suppose I'll close off a little bit with my own story of coming out and getting to where I am now. And I've always never felt female, but when I realized I was trans, I wasn't surprised. It was something I thought about for a very long time, but just not thought about in regards to me. The fact that I was on all these trans websites for a really long time without really thinking, are you trans? Why are you on this website? Kind of made me think, you're probably trans. And then I looked back on my own life and I was like, I refused to wear dresses at the age of 2. I never hung out with girls. I never played girls' games or dressed like a girl. I hated being in photographs. I hated my own name. As soon as I discovered the magic of the internet, I never had to be a girl on the internet, ever. I knew that was just not me. And every website I've ever been on, I've been a guy, and to be honest, that gave me a huge guilt complex, and now I feel afraid of lying for the rest of my life. I was so convinced I was a horrible liar before I knew I was trans that I told myself I was a liar for a hugely long time, and that's never gone away. You know, I still think I'm a horrible liar for no logical reason, but the fact that those websites happened, and the fact that I was on them and I said I was a guy when I was born female, that screwed me up for life, despite the fact I know now it wasn't really a lie, because I was being true to myself. But that's what happens when you're young and you're impressionable and things happen and you like to punish yourself, and that's something that I've had to go through. I've been horribly depressed for about 5 years and I had no idea why. And it's gotten worse in recent times, and I don't understand why that is, because I'm in one of the happiest places I've ever been. I've come out, everybody knows I'm out. I wear male clothes, my hair is cut, I look more male than I did before, but for some reason everything is falling apart, and I think maybe making this video was a sort of a therapeutic thing for me. I've struggled with general anxiety disorder, e.g. not being able to talk to anybody ever and being socially inept. I've struggled with mild autism for my entire life, and I've never really been able to admit that to anybody, and that's why I'm really making this video. And to be honest with you, I'd say the amount of trans people with mild autism is extremely high in Ireland, and I'd say all over the world, and I don't know why that is, but research needs to be done. If I ever seem jumpy or unsure of what to say or shy, that's probably why that is. It's not really the trans thing that's doing that, it's the social ineptness of me. And I know that in the future it's going to be a huge challenge, because I know in the future I'm going to transition and take hormones and get surgery, and I'm just hoping that if that's what you want, you can do the same as me, and you can go out there and you can do what you really feel like you can do. Because I believe in every single one who's watching this video, and I don't know who's ever going to watch it, but I believe in everybody. And even if you're not trans, if you're LGB, I believe in you. You can have an awesome life. You'll find someone great. You know, if you're cis and you want to help someone you know who's trans, fantastic. You can do it. They will be so thankful for your help, and you will not realize the positive effect. The extent to which you're helping is incredible. And for everyone who's LGBT, genderqueer, agender, trans, anybody, cis, anybody at all, if you want to make a positive change towards trans people, how they're being treated in Ireland, how it is to transition in Ireland, if you just want to help somebody, if you just want to help somebody you know, if you want to just learn more, educate yourself, you are doing such an awesome thing by getting involved. I would heartily recommend joining our community as an ally, as a member, as a support, anything. We would be so thankful. So good luck to everybody out there and whatever you're doing. I've been Victor Patterson. Nice to talk to the world. Hope this helped. Goodbye.